Hey there, rock stars. Hope you're ready for another awesome episode of Rock Talk. I do apologize for the late post of that last video there. That was much later than I usually post videos to the site. The mass wasting video I ended up wanting to grab a bunch of additional footage for it and had to do a bunch of searching and additional editing just to make it look really nice, because I really wanted to present a really nice video there. So it did take a little longer than usual. And as a result, I'm kind of short on time for a video right now. So what actually we're going to do is take a look. Wait a minute. Up. What? Yeah, so we're going to take a look at my bathroom today. Whoa. Oh, seriously though, if you take a look down on my bathroom floor, here we go, here's one. Let me see if I'm going. It's kind of like narrowing. It's gonna be right. There it is. There are fossils in my bathroom. Rock talk. Or the bathroom tile is composed entirely of limestone, which is a sedimentary rock formed on the bottom of the ocean. It's really cool because it's made up of a bunch of tiny little microorganisms that have what's called a calcareous skeleton, meaning that it's made up of calcium carbonate, is what those animals use to create a protective shell around them. And when those animals die, their tiny little bodies rain to the bottom of the ocean, and it forms this big old mat that kind of turns into almost a goopy sludge, really, of basically a deep ocean mud, which is pretty wild. And over time, the sheer weight of overlying tiny little dead animals squishes the underlying goop into forming limestone, and that's how you form this rock here. Oh, whoops. Yeah. That's how you form limestone. It's pretty cool, and because it's a relatively slow process of formation there, what ends up happening over time is those that kind of goopy mud can preserve other animals that fall into the limestone as well, or into the lime mud, I guess you'd call it. A limey, you limey bastards. Yeah. And so sometimes you can go out on big trips and see really cool geology out in nature. Sometimes if you're paying attention and you're just being observant, you can even find fossils and cool rocks in your own house. So let's just kind of explore my bathroom floor and see what we can find. So let's take a look. To help kind of understand the scale of what we're looking at, I've got a penny right here. Here we go. So yeah, we're looking at some pretty small stuff right now. These little goobers here are small enough to be considered microfossils because they're so tiny. So tiny, in some cases you would need a microscope to be able to see them. Now, it's hard to tell because it's, literally a piece of bathroom tile, but what I think those tiny little grain-sized things might be are called ostracods, and they're pretty interesting. They're tiny mollusks, believe it or not, that form a shell, a calcareous shell on the outside, and they can be smaller than a grain of rice in some cases, or in other cases they can be several millimeters long, but in general they're going to be pretty small. That would be my best guess for what those might be. Now, if we want, what we can do is play the role of paleontologist here for a minute. And what paleontologists do to kind of help understand rocks that they're looking at is to use what's called trace fossils to help kind of identify the general age of a rock that you could be looking at, and the age of other fossils as well. And it can be very helpful. So with the ostracods here, if it is in fact an ostracod, that we're looking at, that can help us kind of narrow in on the age of this rock based on the known age of ostracods, when ostracods were known to have lived. The ostracods started being seen there around 450 million years ago, but they're also still alive today. So this doesn't really help us narrow in on things too much. It could be anywhere from 450 million to current, if it is in fact an ostracod, which I guess does help us kind of narrow in. I really doubt that my bathroom tile is older than 500 million years old. So I don't know. We'll have to keep looking, keep searching. I'm diving back in. Okay, now this is interesting right here. Look at that. Let's get a penny. Slide my penny in there so we know what we're looking at here. Whoops. Take a look at that. That's an interesting oblong shape with a little hole in the middle. Pretty wild. I'm not quite sure exactly what group it might be, but this kind of reminds me of early cephalopods. I think versions can be called belemnites. I can't remember other names for them, but they're basically early squids that had shells. And cephalopods have a more restrained timing than other fossils do. So that could help us kind of narrow in on the age of this limestone. Interesting. Something else interesting. I'll zoom out a little bit. Grab you, Mr. Penny. Right here. I'm not quite sure what this is. This is a weird little shape here. Come on. And I'm not sure exactly what it could be. Could be a trace fossil from an animal, maybe like a burrow of a worm, or it could be maybe a preserved animal of some kind. I'm not really sure. I'm not familiar with what that is. Oh, whoa, here we go. Oh, okay, look at that. My camera can't quite get in there at that angle. Shoot. Okay, let me see if I can do it. It's quite large. It's quite large. Hope this doesn't mess with the audio too much. Ooh, actually, if I open this, yeah, here we go. The lighting's not as good that way, but you can definitely see a characteristic swirl right there of either an ammonite or a nautiloid. Now that is going to be huge. Okay, so that could really help us if this is in fact an ammonite or a nautiloid fossil, because compared to ostracods, they have a much more restricted time range. Both ammonites and nautiloids formed between 500 to 400 million years ago, but nautiloids are still around today. Those never went extinct. However, all ammonites are extinct, so those are no longer around. And so ammonites have a definitive age range they're bracketed by, being the Devonian period at around 400 million years ago down to the Cretaceous of about 65 million years ago, 64 million years ago. And so if this is an ammonite fossil, that gives us a definitive bracket there of about 65 to 400 million years ago as an approximate time and date range for the limestone here, for this limestone. So that it could be a major piece there, helping us out on the bathroom tile mystery. Hey, there you are, Penny. All right, next to Penny, right here, we have, another piece to the puzzle. Look at that. But this is a little more definitive, as that swirl you could recognize as an ammonite or a nautiloid. But look there, right there. Those are what I believe are suture patterns. And the suture patterns can help you tell the difference between a nautilus and an ammonite. And you can see that in generally speaking, ammonites are going to have more complex suture patterns. They're going to be very wavy, very complex things, whereas ammonites are going to have rather basic suture patterns. And so you can see here that this is not super wavy. It has a little bit of a wave to it. So that's probably a nautiloid, not an ammonite. I haven't really been able to find many trace fossils other than the nautiloid fossils and what could be an ammonite. So in general, I just have to generally bracket the limestone here as between probably about 500 to 65 million years old, and somewhere probably in between those ages, I'd have to guess for it. I wish we could have some really good key indicator fossils, animals that lived only within a small date range, because that would have really helped us. But pretty cool. I'm pretty darn grateful to be able to have a million-year-old limestone on my bathroom. It's pretty wild, pretty cool though. Hope that you learned a thing or two about paleontological bracketing, how paleontologists can use fossils to help date rocks, to help find out how old certain rocks are, which is a really cool thing that geologists and paleontologists do all the time. And keep your eyes peeled, rock stars, if you're out walking around, out around town, out in your own house, in your own home, wherever you might work or go to school. If you just, kind of keep your eyes open, especially if it's limestone, because limestone is loaded with fossils, as you can see just in my own bathroom, what we were able to find. So keep your eyes peeled and have fun exploring. And until next time, rock stars, keep on rocking. Catch you next time.